NASA's been around for a long time now, and it's been the subject of intense speculation, with many people being convinced that they're up to something. We all know about the theory that they helped to fake the moon landing, but we've dug a little deeper to find a few things that you might not have known before now. These 5 darkest secrets NASA doesn't want you to see can be bizarre, but some are absolutely verified and more than a little worrisome. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get notified every day for more amazing content. With that being said, let's begin. Number 5. Operation Paperclip. The state of the world was pretty screwed up during the aftermath of World War II, which left a huge amount of Nazi scientists out of meaningful work. Being added to a global blacklist is pretty much what could have been an expected outcome when it comes to a group of admittedly brilliant scientific minds who opted to further the goals of what can easily be described as the most evil political party the world has ever known, at least in modern times. There were plenty of German scientists who defected during the war, making their way to all sorts of safe havens, with Sweden or the UK being quite a popular place of refuge. It was difficult to get out of the grip of the Nazis, but it was definitely possible, and many managed to successfully jump ship in order to avoid committing what basically amounted to war crimes in many cases. Others, however, decided to stick it out and continued applying their skills to projects such as desperately trying to beat the rest of the world when it came to developing nuclear weapons, as well as engaging in massive eugenics campaigns. They certainly don't sound like the kind of people that we would want working for our government after they were defeated, but it has since been revealed that a large amount of Nazis were offered jobs as salaried employees at NASA after the end of the war, with the agency seemingly jumping at the chance to get in on the deal. They were aching for fresh scientists who knew what they were doing, and we bet they picked some up at a steal when the government started shopping around to see who wanted some trained labor. We get that they wanted a little extra help, but anyone can tell you that using ex-Nazis to increase your workforce probably isn't the best bet. Sure, they were defeated in shame, and many of them might not have been terrible people, but simply people caught in an impossible situation, but we wouldn't want to end up working alongside people who were able to simply go along with everything the Nazis stood for so long without making a break for freedom. We also don't think that they deserved any favors from anyone, least of all NASA, and the thought of Nazis helping to build the organization we all know today makes us a little uneasy. They definitely can't have much in the way of ethics if this news is true, although it goes without saying that the people in charge today might have done things differently if they'd been running the show back then, which is a small comfort. It's strange to think that acts of sabotage, as well as the overall safety of the rest of their employees, weren't considered in this decision. And we think that letting these people have access to such sensitive projects and information wasn't the smartest decision they could have made. That being said, NASA has managed to pull off some very impressive projects since then, and their scientists haven't destroyed the world just yet, so maybe we're just getting worked up over nothing. That may be the case, but we just can't get over the concept of Nazis kicking it at NASA without a care in the world. Number 4. Astronaut Madness Procedures. NASA has a manual that includes the proper procedure for every conceived event, along with a contingency plan for everything. When you're sending people into space with such new tech, it's really good to have a backup plan after all. One of their emergency situations takes human fallibility into account, acknowledging that it's well within the realm of possibility for astronauts to completely lose their minds while stuck in space, presenting a hazard to themselves and their fellow astronauts. To combat this, they have a simple plan that's probably effective, but not the easiest thing to pull off. It turns out that they're quite content with their people immobilizing the affected party's hands and feet with tape before forcibly injecting them with a tranquilizer. We really hadn't considered the idea that there were tranq guns on the ISS, to name an example, but it seems like they very much are. Space travel definitely seems dangerous, and we bet it would be pretty strange to have to drill for such an event. Number 3. Angry Moon Aliens. There are a growing number of people who are convinced that hostile aliens were found on the moon when NASA first ventured there, and that's the reason why they had to fake the moon landing. This theory is gaining traction, with people even going so far as to say that the aliens gave astronauts direct instructions to never come back or else face their wrath. We don't know why they'd be so happy just chilling on the moon when they could just take over the lander and make their way back to Earth to take over, but there you have it. It seems they're fiercely territorial and just want to be left alone. This helps bridge the gap between those people who believe NASA was able to reach the moon and those who point to the moon landing video as proof that they didn't, helping to tie both ideas together in one crazy theory. With so many people pointing out evidence of buildings on the moon, however, it could be that the rest of us just missed something glaringly obvious. Number 2. The Lucifer Project. When it comes to NASA trying to pull the wool over our eyes, the Lucifer Project could very easily be their most ambitious project, especially because what it entails would almost certainly be noticeable, even to amateurs. That hasn't stopped the agency from actively looking into advanced terraforming methods, using one of their probes to kickstart the process. The theory claims that NASA is trying to turn either Saturn or Jupiter into a man-made sun by using a probe to deliver a massive nuclear bomb. This bomb is supposed to explode as it nears its destination, setting off a chain reaction of events that will end up with Saturn being plunged into a maelstrom so powerful that the end result is unchecked nuclear fission and the birth of a new star. Not much evidence has been presented to back these accusations up, but only time will tell if they're correct, as a new sun would definitely be hard not to notice. Saturn is only NASA's newest target, after a failed attempt to pull the same stunt in Jupiter by using their Galileo probe. They didn't quite have the tech down at that point, it seems, so the bomb didn't go off, at which point they decided to switch to Saturn because it was easier than trying to explain why they were sending multiple probes only to Jupiter. Lots of people have pointed out that this is why NASA decided to crash Galileo into the planet at the end of its mission instead of just letting it do its thing and just deactivating it. Others say it was just an accident, but the believers haven't been easy to convince, sticking to their guns and claiming that NASA's only lying to us in order to further their own mysterious agenda. Modern scientists have come forward to say that it would be pretty ridiculous to think that nuclear fusion could be triggered across an entire planet to the point where it could be turned into a mini-sun, and we have to agree with them. The counter-argument here is the idea that NASA really is sitting on some amazingly powerful and advanced alien technology that has allowed them to develop bombs that are technologically far superior to anything that the general public is aware of. That's an interesting thought, but NASA really doesn't seem like they've got such advanced weaponry at their disposal, as it would be pretty hard to keep a lid on that no matter how hard you try to keep the conspiracy under wraps. Then again, they have been known to work closely with the military and the CIA, meaning those involved who are employed by NASA might not even realize that they themselves are being manipulated just like the rest of us. Number 1. The Martian Massacre. In our solar system's distant past, at least one great war was waged that could easily have threatened to destroy it in its entirety. Thankfully, the devastation was limited to the surface of Mars, according to a new theory that suggests that at least 2 alien civilizations were decimated by nuclear war, wiping them out in their entirety. The proponents of this theory say that NASA already knows the truth and is trying to hide it from the rest of us, which could very well be true for all we know. The only images we get of anything outside our planet pretty much all come from NASA, so they could make up just about any story they like, right? We think that assumption is taking things a little too far, as amateur stargazers and astronomers have been able to verify a lot of what we're told for themselves, albeit on a smaller scale. Getting back to the theory, it seems that one of these amateur stargazers isn't content with following the herd and believing what he's told, constantly trying to look for anything out of the ordinary. He says that there is overwhelming evidence of hundreds of buildings that can be seen lying in ruins, even in NASA's own imagery, which is a pretty spectacular thing to miss. Signs of a bomb site can even be seen if you believe the hype, and the theory's advocates say that they believe the evidence shows that at least one of the civilizations could have used the blasts in order to aid them in a massive construction project. Many are still sure that the second civilization was almost certainly destroyed by war, but are still trying to fit the pieces together and properly explain what they've discovered. Some groups have already clung to the basic theory and then made equally wild additions of their own, with one group even naming the 2 civilizations Cydonia and Utopia, saying they were in contact with Earthlings at the time and were about as advanced as the ancient Egyptians, who they also say were bestowed with alien tech way back when. These groups are all in agreement that the sites containing their supposed ruins have been pelted with all sorts of space rocks since their occupants were wiped out, making any telescopic archaeology more difficult, which they say has hindered progress. One believer has also given a talk about his findings that show the explosions everyone's talking about were probably that of a bomb that was detonated above the surface of the planet, raining destruction down on the civilization below. We're sure that NASA would probably tell us if they'd made any observations to suggest that such a scenario occurred, but it could be that they're just stupid if they aren't trying to cover something up, missing the evidence even though it's staring them right in the face. Our money's on the fact that there really are no ruins that were destroyed by ancient wars, but we really don't know for sure either way. Alright, Top 5ers, we have something very exciting for you to see. Make sure to visit our other channel, The Brilliant. If you like what we have on Top 5's Finest, then we know you will love what we have there too. But be warned, the videos over on The Brilliant are extremely addicting to watch as well. There will be a link in the description to The Brilliant channel, so make sure to visit us now. Or you can go to our latest video popping up on screen right now. Come on, click it. You know you want to. Oh, and while you're here, subscribe also. Heard it gives you superpowers. Anyway, see you soon.